Hey, welcome back to my channel. I'm teacher Nikki, and on this channel, I teach all things language related to ESL, Spanish, or online teaching. And today I'm going to be focusing on how to teach Halloween Spanish vocabulary to students. And first, I'm going to give you guys a glimpse at the instructional framework that I use, which is just a fancy way of saying like, how do you teach this? What order do you go in? I use the gradual release of responsibility, which is I do, we do, you do. You've probably heard of that before, but it's really interesting because with I do, we do, you do, it's just you do like a mini lesson or a focus lesson first, so you're giving the students kind of like that background knowledge that they might need, and then you do a little guided instruction where you can maybe practice the materials together, and then after that, you kind of let students go and take on the responsibility themselves, doing that independent practice or working with a partner or working in groups so that they can go from like, it's like a little baby steps. Step one, you're going to learn this mini lesson. Step two, we practice together. Step three, go out in the world or go over to your own desk, wherever they may be, and work on it alone. But it's interesting because you don't have to go gradual release does not have to be done in order. They could start with a group project together and kind of explore something new as a group or independently. Maybe they read an article and then you work backwards and you say, okay, what words were new to you? And do a mini lesson after they do some sort of activity independently. So it does not have to be in that order. But typically, I do go in the linear way. So let's jump into this Spanish Halloween vocabulary lesson. So, first, we have a guided lesson where I'm going to teach a few words at a time. I really break it down for them where we're just going to learn 3 words at a time. So I teach them Halloween, Noche de Brujas. You could also say Halloween. Um, we have spider, araña, la araña, la calabaza, and los dulces. So after they learn these 3 words, I'm going to they see the picture, we practice the pronunciation of the word, and then I'm going to see if they can remember the word. So if I click present, what happens is I'll say, okay, ¿cómo se dice? Which means how do you say candy? And then they'll say dulces. So they have a word bank here too. So you see how it's very gradual. It's I teach them, and then they see this group collaboration right now where the class is going to work on this together as a whole group before they go off into small groups or independently. ¿Cómo se dice pumpkin? Calabaza. Spider, araña. So it gives them that chance to get exposure and practice. So think of it that way. Teach, give exposure, practice. Then we're going to learn. Then we're going to then they're going to see the words, and these will, when I click present, they're not going to see them. So they're just going to see the pictures now, and then I'll see if they can remember. So it says, ¿Recuerdas? Do you remember? Do you remember how to say candy? So again, it's very, very gradual. Then we're going to learn a few more words. So they have murciélago, la luna, momia, and tela de araña. So then we go through that same process again where they have a word bank, and then when you click present, they don't see the word bank right away, so they have to try to remember on their own. Now, that's not quite enough just to see the words 2 or 3 times. So now we're going to do some more whole group practice as a class. So they're going to see parts of a picture. This is a little puzzle progression. And then here they have a word bank. So they can practice saying those words again. And they start to see more of the picture and more, and then they see the whole thing. So again, this is giving them that exposure and that chance to practice the word over and over again. And we go through a few puzzle progressions. So this is building up their confidence to be able to do that activity on their own eventually. So after we go through the puzzle progressions, there's a few extra Spanish Halloween vocabulary words. Gato, fantasma, Frankenstein, or monstruo. And here we have the same activities as before. So that repetition is intentional. So in a language class, you want the students to kind of know what to expect so it takes the pressure off. We know that school can be a little bit stressful already when you're being called on and things like that. Well, when you're learning a language, it's all the more stressful because it's like being back in kindergarten or even earlier than that, brings you back to being a baby where you don't know what's going on. So if you can have that structure in a language class as much as possible, that really, really helps the students feel more comfortable and confident with the language because they know what to expect. And then we go through a few more vocabulary words, a few more activities like that. And after this, now that they've gotten exposure to these words, they're going to do a Halloween escape room. So this is a Halloween escape room on Google Forms, and it just says Halloween escape room Noche de Brujas. It's Noche de Brujas, and you decided to go for a walk in the woods. Before you know it, the sun is setting. You look around for the trail, but you lost your way. You need to get out of the woods as soon as possible. Complete all of the Spanish challenges to escape the woods. So then, are you ready to escape? They have to click yes, and then they click next. So, challenge one is kind of like a scramble. They have to use the key to unlock all the Halloween creatures on the list. So they have six, and then they type their answers. So here it's like the first one is el monstruo. So they'll start to see patterns like the leaf and the apple are both el, the apple and the acorn are la. So they'll start to see some of those patterns, and it won't take them like forever and a day to fill it out. Next, they have to do like a matching activity. So they have to match the word with a picture, and they'll just click like image A goes with number one, two, three, four, or five. So image A is the spider web. So it's number three, número tres, la tela de araña. And then they'll just click on there. And then they have like a little kind of like not crossword, but it's like a fill in the blank. So they have to decide, are they going north, south, east, or west? And then they have little clues in Spanish here. And if they don't know this vocabulary, I encourage them to use wordreference.com or even Google Translate, because even though Google Translate's not the best, um, it still will give them enough of a clue as to what this would be. And then on the bottom, so these boxes here, they kind of have to keep track of which letters those would be, because that's going to give them the direction they need to go. And here they have more clues, and they have to guess which clue goes with which image, and they'll type their answer there. So this is really a great way to give that gradual release because they're getting more exposure to the language, they have some word banks, they're seeing those vocabulary words over and over again. And then it will lead them to one more practice activity, which they could do independently. So here they're going to do matching, drag and drop, like that. And hopefully at this point, it's pretty easy for them to do this, but it's a way for them to see where they're at and how much they need to practice. And then on the next slides, they're going to do fill in the blank. So this is nice because that's a way for them to test their spelling and recall and produce the words on their own now. Because up to this point, they've had word banks and they've had images and things like that to help guide them. And now they're just going to have to say, okay, what is a cat in Spanish? it's el gato. And then they're going to keep going. So, ¿qué es? Es la bruja. And then they just keep going with that. I think those are all of the activities on here. Oh, hang on one second. So it says, what does a witch use? So here they have to say the broom. It's bad luck to see it on your path. So now they're getting a little more advanced. They're building on this language and they're getting more exposure to sentence structure, to grammar, and using this in sentences. So that is a way to really help them get more exposure to the language without making it so intimidating, because at this point they have learned so a lot of the vocabulary and hopefully they're much more confident with the Spanish Halloween vocabulary. And then again, you can have them use like a wordreference.com to if they don't know some of these vocabulary words. So that is all of the Spanish Halloween vocabulary lesson. I think the students are really going to enjoy it, and it's a great way for them to get that exposure to more of the language, start building on that sentence structure, and have fun learning Spanish. If you are interested in this lesson, check out the link in the description. You can get the lesson and use it with your students from my TPT store. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Hasta luego. Gracias.